It works on multiple operating systems like Docker, Kubernetes, and so on. Ours is Linux, right? That is Red Hat CentOS based. So choose this one. Or else here also you can choose HCOS release. Right? This is the file which shows which kind of distribution yours is. It's a CentOS Red Hat based. So I'm choosing this. And here is the one to download the Jenkins repository file. Download the Jenkins repository file. See, yesterday I have shown you, right? hcmrepos.d. We were creating a repository file with this URL so that it can download from there. We were downloading the output into this path. I'm not running it. First, let me show you this. Okay, this will create a repository file. Here you don't have it. So this command will create that repository file, okay, from where Jenkins can be downloaded. See, okay. And now download the repository file. Also the key using this command. And install Jenkins. Sorry, and install Java first. See, this is the one for Java because Java is a prerequisite to run Jenkins. You don't need to know Java for this, okay? Just installation, as Jenkins is a Java-based application. Okay. Once Java is installed, let us install Jenkins using yum install. Sorry? Didn't get you. Okay, Jenkins is installed. Let's start Jenkins using systemctl start Jenkins. It failed saying that some error. Let me check the status. Have I installed it? I'm installed Jenkins. Some step is missing. It's saying no, nothing. Package is not installed. It says installed. Oh, okay. It says already there. Okay. And when I start it, it's not being started. Let me install Java. Is this Java installed? It's saying no package available. I don't think it's installed. See, it is not installed. Loading plugins. Package already installed. It's saying font config package. It's not Java, I believe. Once again. Let me try installing Java as well. Java is not installed. That's why Jenkins failed. No package Java 17 available. Okay, let me try installing Java 11. Java 17, it is not installed. Okay, it's giving you, it's available in Amazon extra packages. So we can install with Amazon Linux extra packages. Okay, this will install Java.
Any version of Java can be support or only particular?
Generally, the version which is provided here you can install. Otherwise, Java 11 should work. If it doesn't, we have to use the compatible one. Generally, the latest versions will do.
Okay.
So it is done. Now let me start Jenkins. Systemctl start Jenkins. Okay, Java is installed. Java version it's 11. Jenkins should start. Yes, it is started. Okay, you can check the status as Jenkins systemctl status Jenkins. Okay, so you can see it's active and it's running, right? Also, Jenkins default port is 8080. How to see? I have already shown you. You can also check this way. See, process ID net stack minus lntup pipe grep 7121. Right? It's on 8080. If you want to change this, where is this file? Etc system etc system Jenkins system config sysconfig actually. Yeah, sysconfig Jenkins. Let me go to this directory. There should be a file in the system config. See system config. Maybe that was a path was changed. We should have a file with called Jenkins where we have all these configurations. We'll check the file again. Okay. So that's where you will also change the port. If you want, you can also change that. So it's running on port 80 and Jenkins has got a great UI, right? Meaning we can check it on the browser, get the public IP of this EC2 instance, hit that on port 8080, right? But for the page to load, this should be added in the security rules, right? All of these things we have seen. Like that's like a firewall. You have to add this port in the security rules. Go to the security groups, inbound, all TCP, not all TCP, let's say custom TCP because we'll choose our own port, which is 8080. And from anywhere. Okay, now this is the page where you can see Jenkins, right? This is your Jenkins page. And for the first time, your Jenkins will be locked. You have to unlock it. Okay, and the unlock password is present here. Right? This is where your unlock password is. By the way, wait, what is this var lib Jenkins? Go to the Jenkins server. This is called the Jenkins home directory. Var lib Jenkins. This is called the Jenkins home directory. All the Jenkins configurations will be present in here. Do you see that? Here again, there is a folder called secrets. There is a file called initial admin password. That's where this password is present, and that's what it was telling here also. Get the password from here. This is nothing but this file. Correct? So copy this initial, and this is only for the first time, only one time task. So continue. Install the search. See, it is saying customize Jenkins. Like I told you, right? Jenkins has got lot of plugins. Plugins are the very good feature in Jenkins, which will help you um, enhance the Jenkins, right? Like if you need any feature in Jenkins, you can enhance that with Jenkins, right? Any feature if you want to extend the functionality of Jenkins, you can use these plugins. So install suggested plugins or you can choose the plugins you want. Okay, we are going with suggested plugins. Suggested plugins means most widely used plugins. See here, and plugin, Gradle plugin, GitHub branch plugins, and so on. So you can integrate with all of those tools. This is also one-time task. Later on, if you need any other plugins also, you can install later on also. Initially, it will get started with more widely used plugins. Later on, as per your project requirement, if you need any plugins also, we can install them. Right? It may take a minute or two. Let that finish.
Couldn't see Maven here.
Maven also will be installed. See here, you are seeing the plugins. All the default plugins, more widely used plugins will be installed. Port Port 8080 is where Jenkins is running. Jenkins default port is 8080. It's running on port 8080. So it is done and it's asking to create a user. Okay, for the first time, you can create a user which is an admin user. Okay, you can give any name. I'm giving name as admin. You may give any name of your choice. Okay, it's not that you should give only admin user. Give any name, some dummy email ID, and save and continue. So you will be logged initially as an admin user. Save and finish. Okay. So here, can you see that? This is your Jenkins dashboard. This is the page where you will be logged in every day. This is the welcome page or dashboard of your Jenkins. Right? Installation is quite simple. Okay. One, you have to install Java and install Jenkins. All these steps were available here. Okay. Just go through all the steps in the official documentation. That should do. That's all you have to do. And this is my Jenkins server. Okay. So now that we came to this page, let's look into the concept of job. We were talking about jobs, right? Like in a pipeline, you will create, build a job, deploy job, test job, you connect them and so on. So first, let's get introduced to the concept of job. Job is nothing but, see here, it's a task. Here you can, from here you can create a job, or from here you can create item, job, project. These words are used interchangeably in Jenkins. Okay, so go for new job or new item. Let's say job one, right? It's a freestyle project. I'm choosing freestyle. It says this is a central feature of Jenkins. Jenkins will build your project, combine any SCM, main source code management systems like GitHub with any build system, right? This is the basic type of job which will help to integrate with any sort of. Later on, we'll create pipeline type of jobs, but this is just for demonstration. Okay, choose this and hit OK. Okay, so Here you can see space, and yeah, see there were so many sections. We'll talk about each of them. First, go to the build steps. Here you can see again something like execute shell. Execute shell means execute some commands. Just select it. And if you want to run any command, like a simple echo command, okay, that's all. That means that my job is executing a simple shell command. It could be anything, right? For now, I'm just getting started with a shell command. So this is your job. If you want to run this job, click on build now. This build is not building the code. Here build means run the job. So if you run the job, you will see the number of runs. Number one, it's first run console output. Here you can see this, right? This is my first Jenkins job, right? So it just prints the output like the same way, like if you run echo command here, what happens? The same thing, right? If you run something here, the same way. Okay. So now tell me, here you need to understand few things. This job means this particular command is executed by which tool? Jenkins or Java, or which tool or which program is executing this command?
Jenkins, which is built on Java, right?
Shell.
See here, yeah, tell me.
This is bash script.
This is bash script. It's executed by shell program on the server, right? It's not executed by, it is, this task is just started by user admin. User admin means Jenkins user. But the actual command is executed by shell program on the server. If this is your server, how would you run the shell commands? Same way, right? It's executing on the same server where Jenkins is installed. So here you have to understand which program is executing this and on which server it is executing it. On which server this is happening?
Jenkins server. Right?
It's happening on the Jenkins server, right? Like it's happening on the same Jenkins server, means this one where Jenkins is installed and it's been executed by the shell program. Same is the case. Tomorrow we are going to create build jobs, test jobs, deploy jobs. Actual job will be executed by another tool at the back end. We will execute them via Jenkins. It's like an orchestrator or manager. Is that making sense now for everyone?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that is your job. Let's create one more job. Another sample job, job 2, freestyle. I'm again going to build step. See, we will be using all of these sections. Okay, for now, just go to build. Again, execute shell. Let's say I'll run some command called date. Date is a Linux command. Okay, if you run date command, it will print the current date of the server. See, Friday, November 17th, the UTC timing of the server. Similarly, I just want to print that into some file, and that file should be placed under tmp by the name date.txt. Okay, that's all I need. So let's save it, build it. Instead of you running this date command from here, this job will do that for you, right? Did I click on build? Okay, build now. Okay, build happened, and you see the console output. Click here, console output. It just says date command executed, but it should be there in the tmp folder, right? Under root tmp date.txt. Do you see that? Yeah, this file is created with the job, means this clarifies that job is executing on the same server where Jenkins is installed. And instead of you running date command there, this is what is automation. You may run it any number of times, right? It is executed twice. And if you see the output of date command, see second output, right? So that is the importance of job. Job will be executing on the same server as of now. and each task will be executed by the particular program or the tool. Via Jenkins, we are automating it. We are managing them. Following everyone, any questions?
Ma'am, since this is UI, you are connected to your Jenkins server, you are able to execute it. Suppose if I want to execute another EC2 server, where I can link that server?
That's a master-slave concept in Jenkins, right? That's
Okay.
what is master-slave concept, where you will run remote jobs.
So here, can I see where my EC2 server is linked?
Which EC2 server is?
From here, Jenkins, you are executing some date command from UI. So it is the output is storing in EC2 server. So where is
EC2
the
server
link?
means the server where it is
Jenkins
installed.
server. Okay. Okay, we no need to mention again from UI Jenkins.
If it is on the same server means you don't need to mention anything. It will run by default on the same server only, right?
Okay. Okay.
And also, so as we go by, this might be, let's say this might be a build job. Okay, this might be test job. Also, we can connect them. Like whenever build job is done, it will trigger this and so on. Like job 1 may be a build job 2 may be a test job, and we can connect them so that they run in the sequence. All of this can be done. We are going to learn all these things as we progress. Clear with the basic concept of job, everyone? Any questions from anyone here?
Fine.
No, I have a question.
Yep.
Yeah, if any of the job failed, where can we see? Is it on the Jenkins server logs, or here we can see those?
Here we can see whenever if you go here, console output, this is where it will show you all the errors. As these are simple jobs for now, it's a small console. Here it will show all the build fails.
Okay.
So that's about the sample and the basic concept of what a job is. Okay, there's a long way to go. Okay, we'll do many things with the Jenkins, and we'll also see those console output and all. And that's one thing. And there is an option called Manage Jenkins. Here, if you go, yeah, see, these are all the things you have. Majorly, this is for administrative part. Like if you want to give permission to some users or install plugins, that's where these can be used. Let's go for plugins now. See, system configurations will be there, security will be there. We'll look into them. First, let's go to this plugins. Plugins is where add, remove, disable, enable plugins. Like I told you, right? We have installed some plugins, default plugins in the beginning. All of them can be seen. Updates means updates to your plugins. Imagine plugins are like add-ons, like in the mobile, we'll have the app updates, right? Apps kind of thing. Available plugins means thousands of plugins available for Jenkins. Installed plugins will show you all the installed ones, right? If you want, you can also uninstall them this way. Some of them you can't uninstall because there are dependency plugins. So that's how you see the plugins. If you need any other plugin, you can search here. Let's suppose I need some plugin to integrate with Ansible. You may search here. So you will see this plugin. It also describes what it does. Invoke Ansible ad hoc commands and playbooks. If you want to understand more, you can also go for that plugin documentation here. Right? What it does, how to use it, how to configure it in Jenkins, everything is there. Right? You can also use that. We'll also install some plugins. Okay, this is just an example. So that's how you can search for any plugin under available plugins and you can install them. Right? We will come to this part. And whatever configurations, everything we have done, will be here in the home directory of Jenkins. If you go to where lib Jenkins, here is the home directory. Here are all the things like now we have created few jobs, right? If you go to another directory called workspace, whenever you create a job and execute it, there will be a directory created by the same name of the job, like job 1, job 2, you can see here, right? And inside this, whatever outputs or any processing, if it is building or if it is testing, all of them will be present in that directory. Okay, we'll look into those as well when we create the actual jobs. That's a workspace. Similarly, all the user information will be present here. All the plugin information that are installed will be present here. That's why this is called Jenkins home directory. For Jenkins backup, this is the directory we'll be using. We'll also see, okay, how to take Jenkins backup. Okay, that is about all the home directory. Now let's talk about the security. Here, can you see? It says secure Jenkins, define who is allowed to access and use the system. Right? Means there might be different users. You want to restrict their permissions. Yes, that's possible here. Under security, if you go, there is authorization. Okay, which type of authorization you need, you can choose here. Logged in users can do anything, means if you log in, you can do anything, right? Or else matrix based, project based, you have different things. Here I am choosing logged in users can do anything is not a suggestible or advisable one in real time, right? Means if you are logged in, you can do anything. We don't use them at all. More widely used strategies are, okay, actually they were different strategies like matrix based, project based, role based access control, RBAC. These are the different strategies that are used, and out of them again, this is the one which is more widely used, RBAC strategy. Okay, we will look into all of them. Okay, first let's look into matrix-based authorization strategy. For this authorization strategy, okay, logged in users can do anything. Or else, yeah, matrix-based security. Here you can add the users. Okay, but I have already only one user available. Let me create few users. This is the Jenkins application user, right? It's not a server system user. Now I want to create few more users. Here there is users. Here you can create a user. Let me create user 1. Password is also user 1. Confirm password. Okay, let me create one more user. Okay, so I've created few users. Okay, now let's go for security. Here under authorization, let's choose matrix based. Here we can add the users we have. I'm adding first admin. See, he was created as an admin user. Also, if you want to add him all the permissions and make him admin, you can give him all the permissions. And user 1. Okay, this is what is matrix based. You can add all the users here and give the permissions. See, if you, these are so many permissions you have. Okay, you don't need to worry about what each does. If you keep the cursor, it explains you what are all those. Right, I have given everything for admin user because I just want him to act as an admin. User 1. Okay, I just, first you should give overall read. Overall read means you can first log into the Jenkins dashboard and see the dashboard page. So overall read. Now let's say user 1 is a new joinee. I just want to give him read permissions on the job. Whereas for user 2, he is not an admin, but still he's a senior and he need all the job permissions, all the permissions on the job. Right? Got it, everyone? Understood this matrix? This matrix is this kind of configurations is called matrix-based security. Each user can be assigned with a different set of permissions. Like user 1 is having read permissions as he is a new joinee. User 2 has got all permissions on the job. And there's a separate admin user to manage the entire Jenkins. Is this much clear and understood for all?
Yes.
Yes, Preethi.
Let us save this. Okay. And now let's log in as user 1. Right? User 1 can see all of this. Also, if user 1 goes here, he is having only read new joinee, right? See? No other permissions to build or do anything except read. Read means just he can view the console output. That's all. He can't build, he can't edit, he can't configure, nothing. Right? Let's log in as user 2. If we log in as user 2, see, he has got few permissions to create the job also. Also, he can build. Configure means edit the job, make modifications to this job if you need, save it again. Okay, delete it, rename it, everything he has got. Got the concept, everyone? So what is matrix-based project strategy? Matrix-based authorization strategy, actually. Matrix-based authorization strategy is each user will have a set of permissions, same set of permissions across all the jobs. Let's say this is job 1, job 2. This is user 1, this is user 2. Okay, here he has got all the permissions. Okay, user 1 has got all permissions on this job, and user 1 has got, I'm sorry. Here he has got only read permissions, right? Only read. Here also read. Whereas user 2 has got all permissions. This is what is matrix-based authorization strategy. Right? Clear, everyone? Here,
Yes.
if you
Yes.
notice,
Yes.
a specific user is having same permissions across all job. Means user 1 is having read across any job. User 2 is having all across any job. But what if I need something like this? Okay, let's say user 1, user 2. Here he has got read, here he need all. Right, here he has got all. Maybe there were different strategies implemented across different projects. There might be a project where the jobs are assigned depending on their expertise. Let's say user 1 is more into testing. Let's say he came from testing background. He can work on test jobs. Test jobs means he won't write test cases here as a DevOps person, but he can automate that part. Or else user 2 is an ops person, right? Like he came from admin background. We can assign some deploy jobs. Let's say the second one is a um, test job. Okay. This is, let's say, deploy job. User 1 came from, let's say he has test background. He came from admin background, right? That's how, depending on their expertise, also jobs can be assigned. Or else, let's say every person might be assigned with a different job, irrespective of their role, right? How is that possible? That's where comes another strategy called project-based authorization strategy. Right? Got the difference between the two, everyone?
Yes.
So this is what is matrix-based and project-based authorization. Project-based authorization, we shall see the demo tomorrow. Also, we'll see the other strategy RBAC, which is very much used in practical. Right? This is very much helpful, which would work like a combination of both. Right? For this, we also need to install an additional plugin. We shall do this tomorrow. Any questions from anyone?
In real time, we will be having one Jenkins server for a project, and have you divided into the different users with credentials? That is how it works.
In the organization, generally we'll have one Jenkins server across all the projects. There'll be one person given with a Jenkins admin permissions. He will take care of all these authorizations. Means one admin person from each project. There'll be one admin person from each project. One Jenkins for entire organization. Of course, one Jenkins means it's not that it's running on single server. It will be deployed on multiple servers for high availability and all.
What will be the configuration if it is one server for whole organization? That might be huge. And how it is deployed onto the different servers? I mean, if it is different servers, means that will be having the different public IP, right?
No, same public IP through load balancers for high availability. Load balancing, high availability comes in Kubernetes in our course.
What will be its configuration? I mean, if you could take the example of your project or your organization.
What will be the configuration means? It will be deployed on Kubernetes cluster for high availability, and the URL will be like you will be accessing Jenkins through a load balancer. So a single Jenkins URL will be accessed across the entire organization.
When I mean configuration, what would be its CPU and all?
It depends. It depends on how huge your Jenkins is, how many users you have, how many projects you are going to deploy. It's not a fixed configuration, right? Each organization, each company will have their own configurations depending on their number of projects, their users, and so on.
Any example, any real-time example on which you have worked?
Normally, in our company,
Yeah.
we have a common Jenkins URL which we
Yeah.
access. Then there will be like a project structures which are like completely accessed by the entire company. There would be like hundreds, but you only go to your application, right? If your application is like Ahmad, you search for Ahmad and there will be an URL. You
He
click
was
that.
talking about backend configuration. How many
backend
servers? How many
Fine.
servers will be
That's-
there? What is their configuration? He's asking.
There will be like pods which will be auto scaling as per the necessity of the memory utilizations. If that's not, if that is met, you will be getting notifications like some parts workers are
That is a
overloaded.
different story, right? That will be handled by
Yeah,
separate DevOps
that's
team.
very core. That's very much core of infra.
How many pods, how you are maintaining load balancing, this is all a separate topic. We will be doing that in Kubernetes. Whether it is Jenkins application or is it an application handled by end users, how to maintain high availability, load balancing, we'll talk in Kubernetes, then you'll get an idea. Example in real time is this is what is example. Sometimes Kubernetes can be hosted on Jenkins can be hosted on Kubernetes cluster in some projects. In some of the projects I have worked, it was hosted on Kubernetes for high availability. Okay, in some of the projects, we are deploying Jenkins on ECS for high availability. And in some projects, they were deploying an EC2 groups, EC2 instances with auto scaling groups. How many and all, that's a different story.
So I got that point. I mean, since for the practice
Louder,
purpose,
please. Can you please be a bit louder?
yeah, I got that point. Since for the practice purpose we are using T2 micro instance, and I just wanted to know what will be the instance type in the project? I mean, if a real-time project.
That's what, Ahmad, in real time, it could be anything, right? How do you define or how do you fix that? See here. This is T2.micro, which offers one CPU and one Gibbs. Right? If your Jenkins is so huge, if you have thousands of projects, it might be going to any type of instance here. So huge number of instances were there, right? It could be any number of CPU. It's not that you should go with only T2.medium. It depends how many CPU how they have configured their auto scaling groups. It all depends. It could be any of them. Here there were so many instance types which supports the number of virtual CPU and Gibbs. It could be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything, but I just wanted you to mention me with any of the number on the project which you have worked or which you are working currently, or for that matter, any of our other participants, who could.
So he just wants a real-time example of an instance you use for your
Let's say
project.
I have used T3.2 extra large. That answers your question?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I have one more question. Like, let's assume like you have an application built for Jenkins, but you don't know what kind of a memory you need, right? So initially, when infra was getting set up, you do have an instance which auto scales your needs. Like that will tell you like, okay, this is the memory utilization for a month. You just need this kind of a memory so that you can change that instance to according to the need, or is it something you just go by default, like without knowing?
You're asking the question. I
Yes,
think
yes.
you're answering something. Okay. See, for applications particularly, if you're deploying on Jenkins, it doesn't mean that you are deploying on the same Jenkins server, right? You'll be deploying, it would be a containerized application particularly, generally for DevOps. A containerized application, right?
No, not for Jenkins. Let's say for like server.
That's what I'm saying. You are talking about, see, your Jenkins is running on server. You are saying that your application being deployed to some other servers. That's your question, right?
Yes.
A
So
different application.
how do you know that this kind of a memory is needed for this application? This kind of a load was handled by this many instances or work
That's what I'm
containers.
answering. That's what I'm talking.
Okay.
You are deploying some application through Jenkins, right? And it will be deployed on some other infrastructure, maybe EKS or whatever it is, right? Suppose, let's say it's deployed as a Docker image or a Docker container on EKS cluster. So
Okay.
particularly whenever the application is packed or whenever the Docker file is created, developers will know their application requirements. There is a concept of Docker volumes, Kubernetes PVs and PVC. Anyone here who attended my Kubernetes sessions or everyone is new here?
I worked on Kubernetes, but I'm not
No,
sure
I'm
like
talking about my sessions where I have explained about PVs and PVCs. Okay.
No, Preethi, it's the first time, yeah.
All right. So in let's say we are deploying on a Kubernetes cluster for high availability. Okay. Your application requirement will be given by developers. They know whether it is memory intense application or like there's a DB application. They know about their application. We get the application requirements from the developer. Application requirement, right? Because they are the ones, application owner, they know the details of memory utilization and all. They'll provide the details. Accordingly, we'll assign the resources when you create pods and when you deploy them. You can assign resources to them. Depending on the resource utilization, you will figure out how many nodes and all. This is too advanced part to discuss at this point of time. We did not start Kubernetes at all. It might be so vague or unclear or confusing for other participants. In simple, I'll say application requirements will be given by developers, right? Accordingly, you will calculate how many pods you need, how many nodes you can accommodate these pods. That all comes under Kubernetes. That's a Kubernetes architecture part, Kubernetes designing. Like basically, if someone is working as a Kubernetes architect, that's an architect role who will decide all of that and do that planning. Accordingly, you will configure the pods and deploy them. Same is the case. There'll be an architect who will design the application, the resource utilization and all of that.
Okay. So basically, it's the developers who are going to give us the requirement of the resource to be allocated.
Their
And
application requirement. They'll not give the size resources of the infra. They'll give their application. Okay, my application needs this much of memory, this CPU. It needs these configurations. Their application requirements they'll give. Accordingly, infrastructure will be designed by the architect of the project. And accordingly, once architect gives that schema, DevOps person will put the configurations and deploy them as per the instructions given by the architect.
Okay, I got the answer. Like normally the DevOps person is not at all eligible to, configure the cloud
See,
architect.
it's not that,
Directly a
not at
cloud
all.
architect.
1 second.
Yeah.
It's not that they see DevOps is not predefined. There is no strict rules for DevOps at present in the market. Okay. There is no rule that DevOps person will not at all do. It all depends. Meaning it depends on the company, the projects you are working. I worked in different kinds of projects where there's a separate architect who will give the instructions. DevOps lead will consolidate that, summarize, discuss with the team and do that. I have worked in this role as a DevOps lead, and also I have worked in a startup where there is no architect. DevOps lead, as a DevOps lead, I designed all of that and will deploy. Right? It all depends on the role you are choosing. Particularly if you are going for an experienced role as a DevOps lead or a manager, there you may have to take up this. Right? Or else, let's say, if actual role of developer, DevOps person is not this. This is the architect role. But in startups, there might not be a separate architect role. We may have to handle. It all depends. So, like I said, there is no strict rule. DevOps person is doing only this. But generally, we don't do that. Only an experienced person might be assigned such tasks. Otherwise, it's not a DevOps task.
My DevOps guy will be working with like 4 projects. Like so he will be not doing like managing stuff. Developers would be doing all the management deployments since they know everything.
Yeah, that's what.
Because
Some
they need
projects,
like new
they
S3
don't know.
buckets.
Some projects, developers will not know anything. So that will come to again DevOps.
Yeah. If at all they need like some creation of a bucket, EC2 instances or something, then he will come and talk to you.
Yeah. I have worked in a project where we manage, DevOps team will manage 8 projects in the company, and I worked as a lead there, where developers have only minimal knowledge. And I have a team of people who will do all the pipelines, everything. The design part, the actual schema, the actual pipeline, if I create and all, team will follow the format. Developers have got very little knowledge, where they may write Docker file to certain extent with our help. So it all depends, but at the end of the day, DevOps team will have to work closely with other teams like developers particularly. Means it's not that again you should go and write the code. Like discussions, what is their application, what do they need, right? Their application requirements or which code their application is running, how to write the Docker file, will work together.
Preethi, are we going, since we are learning this continuous integration? So do we will have any example where we'll get a feel that during testing this bug, some bug will come and it will again go to the developer area where
Yes,
he
we
will
are
do
going to
that?
create those pipelines, Ritesh. Yes, we are
Okay.
going to create the pipelines where test case will be executed, but bugs will go to testers. We have nothing to do there, right? So that part we will not do.
Okay, maybe small
Means
something.
fixing we will not do. Fixing we will not do.
Okay.
Test case execution in the pipeline will do. If test case, if there are bugs, it will go to developer. It will go to developers. They'll fix it. That cycle you'll get an idea, and we'll automate them in the pipeline. Like execution will be done in the pipeline, but fixing will not. DevOps person's job is not that, right?
That I understood, but just for an example, maybe a line here or there, maybe some caption change or developer will do, and again the CI will run to get the feel how it is happening.
Yes,
That's
you
it.
will get that clarity. Yes.
Preethi, I have like a question. Like, do you have any kind of a use case in your career? Like in local repo, the build of the application would be working fine, but once in Jenkins, once you compile it and the integrate it and try to deploy it, it fails. Do
Yeah,
you
that happens, right? Always.
so
That's the environmental
how do you
differences.
get to that error? Like how do you identify that error? Like since it is like Jenkins logs, you can't see, right? I mean, like you
Console
can
output will show you, right, in clearly what is the
error.
error.
Okay. So how do you
Troubleshooting.
solve it? Like how do you, is that the developers
See,
thing
we
or
will first identify the issue, then we will see whether it was like, then we have to take a call whether it is a developer issue or whatever is the issue. We have to take a call on what was the issue, like whose issue it was. Then we will send to the corresponding teams. And by the way, with the Docker, you don't have that environmental issues. Those are eliminated with Docker.
Ma'am, one thing, I mean, when people are working on their locals,
Hmm.
will they be having this whole setup wherein they will be having Jenkins, in order to build the CI/CD pipelines, and then it will be on the different environments. Will how it works or?
Is it are you talking about our lab or in reality?
I understand the
In
question. I can answer.
in reality, yeah.
The thing is like you see that you are using public address for accessing that instance, right? Preethi showed yesterday or day before yesterday. By giving some IP address, you access that web page, right?
Right.
Likewise, every application will have a local host port number. Like say for Ruby, it's 3000. So every application will be having like a local environment, like a Dove environment that has a local host port number. So once you start your application on your local, it will hit local. Once you hit like a web page with localhost 3000, that will be accessing your local application. So you can access the entire Amazon web. If you are working for Amazon, you can access the entire Amazon website in your local. Okay. If you want to check it on an environment like a production or a test environment like QA, hotfix or something, it is nothing but a web page, like a real live environment like Amazon.com. But it has some different credentials like a hotfix or QA. QAs use QA environment. Business people uses like UAT. There will be some definitive environments for definitive purposes like testing purposes. So once you develop a feature, you hand over it to the Git console. Once it is approved, it will be tested by testers on local as well as environments to check whether it is working perfectly or not. That's where it, like
Uh, yeah, that's what I wanted to know. See, when they are working on their local, will they be having all the integration of
no,
these
no.
these tools?
Jenkins is
Uh,
something which you access only with environments. You need to deploy environment. Local, you can do whatever you want, right? Your laptop, you can do open access Google Chrome or install Google Chrome or install Mozilla, right? You can do whatever you want, but environment, you can't do that, right? So for that purpose, you can install Mozilla Firefox through Jenkins. That's a way you can do that. You don't have all the permissions for environments, right? It's
no,
the same.
what I wanted to know is that if a person is working, say for example, if a developer is working on his local on
Uh-huh.
his laptop, okay,
Uh-huh.
will he be having the smaller configuration of Jenkins,
No,
Not
no,
Kubernetes,
no.
required.
Docker?
Not required. Not
Not
required.
required. The application, once every application was built with a dev environment. Once you hit that local host port number 3000, that application will be accessible in your local. That's like a dummy environment. If you want to,
Whatever
Hmm.
way you want, the way you were developing your application, That's environment you only need. You probably will need a Git repository or some other repository from where you will get the code and latest code or whatever as a developer or as a tester. You will get the code and whatever the changes you have to do, you will do.
See,
Same
simple thing.
same will go to the Git pipeline, and
Mhm.
You
on the
can
back of
access.
the Git pipeline, you will have this some CI/CD pipeline through which the your application will be hosted on some environment.
Mhm.
Okay, but for developer or for tester, you don't need it. I don't think.
See, Ahmad, it's very easy. Like every
Okay.
application can be downloaded into your phone, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Likewise, the web application of Amazon, if I'm a developer of Amazon, that entire web application, I will clone it and bring it to my local machine, like laptop. And that can be accessed, like what you see on Amazon.com, that can be accessed on my laptop itself using localhost 3000 or 8080 or something. There will be a dedicated port. Once I hit
Okay.
that port, that entire application will be available in my laptop. Like you can access it like Amazon.com, and there will be like a dummy database. You can access like an admin. You can access it like a user. On top of it, you code it and you code new features and you see whether the features were working fine or not. If at all everything is working fine, you push
Mhm.
that changes to the application code to Git, and that branch will be downloaded by QA by pulling,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
he
yeah,
checks
yeah.
on his local with the same
Mhm.
local host QA environment. That all will be
Mhm.
in application config files. Like if dev
Mhm.
environment will be this host, if it is like a UAT, there will be environmental variables. That's like a different development thing, and he tests
Mhm.
on his local QA. Once it is okay on his local, he will ask permission to test it on environments, QA environments. Then what he
Mhm.
does is like he deploys that branch using Jenkins. Like
Mhm.
the Git, all the Git commits, SHA SHA will be like identifiable commits. He deploys
Mhm.
that in Jenkins. He just goes to
Okay.
there and he checks like QA environment and deploy this commit. Once it is deployed, he goes to the environment web page and logs in
Okay.
like Amazon.com, and he checks whether the
Mhm.
feature is working or not. If not, then he will say he will give you feedback and you work through, to and fro. Only to deploy on environments you need Jenkins.
Mhm.
But what
Yes, sir.
he is telling is like nowadays everyone has been using Docker instead of Jenkins, like directly.
Mhm. With the Docker
No, no,
file.
that's not instead of Jenkins. Okay,
I
Docker
mean,
is
like in the
separate.
back end, Jenkins would be used, but we are not seeing on the front end.
No, 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 no. Jenkins is to run the pipelines. Okay, earlier you were deploying your application directly onto some servers. Now we deploy the application in the form of containers. Again, the UI, all of that remains same. The way you are deploying changes. Let's not get out of the topic. That's why just a one-liner will not clarify
Yeah.
the things. We'll go step by step so that you will get clarity and better understanding. Let's not talk about Docker, high availability things at this point, please.
I mean, like Ahmad, now you get the picture of like local environment. We call it as a local environment for developing feature. We don't blindly write code. We write code and we check whether the code is performing correctly or not on the local environment by checking, logging in.
Yeah, Jayachandra, one
Yes.
question here. When you are saying like a local, so why we need port number there? What is the concept behind using the port number?
Because we don't have any deployment mechanisms, right? That's where the entire web services protocols will be accessible. Say Preethi told like
See,
Docker will be accessible.
one second. Raghav is asking why port. See, port number is specific to the application, not whether it is your local or remote. Okay, port number is specific to the application. Every application runs on some port number. It's
Yes,
not that
ma'am.
because you're
If
local, you have
yeah,
port number, remote, no port, nothing. Oh, I think you are asking about IP address colon
yeah,
port number. That will be URL, which will be like we have to connect, we have to map it to some DNS, which we'll be doing in the real projects. Here you have to have a DNS service, which is costly. We can't get that DNS mapping here, right? Otherwise, this URL and the port number will be mapped to some URL like facebook.com or else oursite.com kind of. That is your question, right?